guys, welcome to Get Busy Watching. I'm your host, Honest Dan. Let's talk movies. It's a rapid fire, so let's hit it. Jennifer Hudson is Aretha Franklin, taking us from her childhood to her 1972 live recording of Amazing Grace. Ugh, biopics give me a headache. Look, it's not bad, but it's also kind of what you would expect out of a biopic. I don't claim to be an Aretha Franklin expert, and I do claim that I have developed a bias against biopics, so for all I know, I'm a sourpuss and this movie might as well be a time machine into the Queen of Soul's life. I know that's not true. I've read at least a few things that the movie got wrong, and they're sure confusing and pointless changes. I admit that it's interesting to learn how close she was to the likes of Martin Luther King Jr. and Dinah Washington, and certainly Hudson does a wonderful job of both acting and singing. And I imagine that's what holds it up for a ton of people. I didn't feel like this was a 2.5 hour movie because that's how engaging she is. But there are scenes that feel useless, overacted. It's not always consistent. If you're a diehard for Aretha Franklin, no opinion of mine is going to deter you from watching this, so please enjoy. For me, it was above average, held up only by Jennifer Hudson's heartfelt performance. My honest rating for Respect, a strong 3 out of 5.
You wait until your demons come back.
After living with you, I'm ready for it.
Victoria Justice is a party girl who drunkenly and accidentally kills herself. Before she's permitted to pass on, she has to make things right with her father, her mother, and her best friend. Flawed, and for all intents and purposes, not good. But not nearly as bad as I thought it was, and it had some good-ish moments. To call this predictable is likely predictable all its own. Once you know the plot, you'll know how this will get resolved. Hardly the first movie to have this plot anyway, so not exactly a shocker. The writing is ridiculously hokey, the acting is out of a Nickelodeon movie, plot lines are introduced just as quickly as they're resolved, and it takes a long time for the characters to grow on you as they start off all being pretty terrible people. Yeah, criticize how your friend wants to celebrate her own birthday. That's not crappy at all. With that said, as the movie progresses, there is a level of earnestness about having a second chance with the dearly departed that somehow sold itself. And maybe there's something to relate to in terms of wanting to do right by your best friend. You're not missing out if you choose not to see it, but I've seen far worse. My honest rating for Afterlife of the Party, a 3 out of 5.
Look, is this happening because of that fight we had? Because if I had known that that was the last time we would see each other,
I would have done things differently, too.
Is that what?
Danielle is a Jewish college student who is also a call girl for a guy named Max. She finds herself at the wake of a family member she doesn't know, is constantly surrounded by family, and sees Max with his wife and infant daughter, as well as her female lover that she's been avoiding. You sure this is a comedy? Because the stress level surpasses that of horror films. I feel like this goes two ways as a viewer who isn't Jewish. You're either watching a horror movie and couldn't possibly understand the comedy, or it's hilarious but anyone who's Jewish is seeing a horror film. I truly wouldn't be laughing at this flick if I didn't know it was billed as a comedy, because now I'm utterly fascinated. I won't pretend to know why Danielle is so enthralled with Max's family and wouldn't do everything in her power to avoid the guy or his wife and kid. I also won't pretend to understand why Danielle can't sneak out of this shindig, or the other questions I have, but I'd be lying if I said this didn't have me constantly guessing as to what would happen next. I remain unconvinced that I was supposed to laugh at this, but I had a weirdly good time. Equally weird, I recommend it. My honest rating for Shiva Baby, a 4 out of 5.
She's just like generic looking. She's like generic pretty. She's
Could possibly be the most beautiful person I've ever seen. Seriously?
I just wouldn't be into her as well.
As kids, 2 Native American boys accidentally kill and bury a schoolmate. In the present day, one's rich and successful, the other is a convict. They reunite and drama ensues. I don't like it. I liked what I thought the movie was going for, but by the end of it, I felt pretty hollow. At first, when Makwa killed the schoolmate and forced Tedo to help him bury the body, I had a hard time seeing how the movie was going to keep me engaged and wanting to see where this was heading. In the present day, when they're adults, that's when the movie's ideas were picking up. Makwa's a perceived good guy, but he has this extraordinarily dark side to him, whereas Tedo is the perceived bad guy, but is trying to put his criminal history behind him and be a good man. Makwa's life is a borderline horror film, and Tedo's is almost warm and uplifting. By this point, I was really into it. The performances from the two leads were stellar, and the movie succeeded at keeping me engaged. But without giving anything away, the resolution leaves me more frustrated than I could ever put to words, and I'm left wondering what the point of it all was. Not bad per se, and maybe there's more to read into, but I can't recommend this. My honest rating for Wild Indian, a week 3 out of 5.
How did you find me? Wasn't that hard. Just asked around for the fakest fucking Indian they ever seen.
Stephen Lang is back and has been a surrogate father to a young girl for the last 6 years. Their home is suddenly invaded by men who want the girl for some reason. Oh, and death and violence. This is very difficult to get behind, but I can't deny the better elements, I guess. As promised, we get a movie where the blind man is the good guy, and boy howdy would it only work if you've never seen the original. As someone who has, I hate that this man has lived a happy life with a child no less. In a vacuum, ignoring the first one, it's not bad. I've always said if I have to watch people die in horrible ways, they should at least deserve it, and I do get what I want in that regard. These home invaders are jerkwads and die in satisfying ways. And the little girl is not some annoying little runt that gets in the way. She's resourceful and is a fairly interesting character that the audience will like. While Lang is still very good as the blind man, you have to take his character in conjunction with the last movie. And it's very awkward to root for him in this story. If you can accept this for what it is, then I guess it's a serviceable enough recommendation, but if you're anything like me and you didn't want to root for the bad guy, then I'd pass on this. My honest rating for Don't Breathe 2, a 3 out of 5.
Sorry, Father. I'll make it next time.
Never take anything for granted. God will take it from you.
Shea Wiggum is a social worker for Olivia Munn and her daughter. Her dad comes home, gets into some illegal business, and Wiggum gets involved to save the family. Clocking in at 90 minutes, this felt longer. It's run-of-the-mill, but kinda made up for the performances. The acting is what truly saved this. Munn gives it her all, so does Wiggum, and even young Tegan Burns steals a couple of scenes. The resolution is pretty satisfying, and I will always respect the power fantasy of getting involved in a situation to help someone, no matter how dangerous. Sadly, there's a lot of padding in the story that felt like it was there to make sure that the runtime made it to the cinema standard of an hour and a half. There's a lot of characters that show up and could have easily been cut. Same with some unnecessary scenes. Subplots that you'd think would be important don't get the development they deserve, or others getting development that no one will give a crap about, resulting in a film that I can see more than a few people fairly calling it boring. Unless you're a fan of either Wiggum or Munn, this isn't a movie that you haven't seen that hasn't been done better. Pass. My honest rating for The Gateway, a week 3 out of 5.
I'm trying to keep Ashley from being taken away from you and put into a home, Dahlia. You don't want that.
And fuck you.
Thanks so much for watching, you guys. I really appreciate it. Have a great day. Stay safe and healthy out there. Hope to see you soon. One final caveat as you guys move on with your day. I've decided to test my luck at a Patreon, so please consider supporting the channel. No obligations, of course. No content is gated off, but any and all support would mean a lot. Links in the description. Have a great one, folks.